We all have pain. We all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long. I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. We'll swallow no pride if I have things you need to borrow. For everyone knows we all have things, though we don't let it show. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Call on me when you need a friend. Oh, baby, now call on me. Just call on me, yeah.
Thank you. What a great opening.
Yeah.
I'm not Reverend Jerry Hooley giving the opening prayer. I'm Reverend Donna Johnson. This is Reverend Jerry Hooley, who will be sharing his wisdom with us today. Okay, if you're here for the first time, I am so happy you are here. It's good to see this room filled with people. Aside from the people on stage who have to speak, we are still doing CDC guidelines for the time being. Hold in your consciousness the day when we will be able to release all of these precautions, namely mask wearing. You can still wash your hands, okay? Okay, let's thank you for looking at our video whenever you are doing so. You are part of this congregation, and we appreciate your prayers, your gifts, and your presence in spirit. Okay. Thank you, sweet spirit, for such a beautiful day, another beautiful day. We are happy that we can come together and join in this spirit of thankfulness, this spirit of joy, sharing our inspiration, sharing our support, our faith. This is what a spiritual community is for. And here we are, open and receptive to your living spirit of truth that moves through all things, in all ways and always. So we dedicate this service now to being of service to one another, to the greater community, to our country, and to the world. Thank you, sweet spirit. We are blessed. And so it is. Amen.
Please stand and join us in singing Day by Day from your bulletins. There we go. Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day, day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day. 1, 2, 3, 4. Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day, day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day, day by day, by day, by day, by day.
Let us join together in our opening statement. There's only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God the good, omnipotent, the vision. A world of spiritually awakened hearts and minds. And our mission? We are creating a joyful community on a spiritual pathway to peace and love through fellowship, classes, music, and services. Thank you. Let's read the daily word. Sunday, April 18th. The word for today is pray for others. With mind and heart, I know the truth for each person I hold in prayer. A friend, someone said, knows the truth for you until you can know it for yourself. Very important. Praying for friends, family members, and those I haven't met, I center my awareness in the truth that each one for whom I pray is a living expression of God, just as I am. Letting go of fear, I release thoughts of lack, illness, disharmony, and any limitation. I see each person for whom I pray abundantly blessed. I see each one warmed and comforted by divine love that lifts their hearts and brings harmony to their relationships. I affirm their abundant living guided by divine love, wisdom, and understanding. I see each life unfolding in perfect divine order, enjoying security, health, and joy, and I will add prosperity in every measure. From 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 15. I will pray with spirit, but I will pray with the mind also. I will sing praise with the spirit, but I will sing praise with the mind also. Today's daily word is pray for others.
Please join us in singing the centering song. It's called Holy Ground. It's in your bulletins. This is holy ground. We're standing on holy ground. For love is present, and where love is holy. This is holy ground. We're standing on holy ground. For love is present, and where love is holy. These are holy hands. We're giving holy hands. Love works through these hands, and so these hands are holy. These are holy hands. We're giving holy hands. Love works through these hands, and so these hands are holy. These are holy lips. We're giving holy lips. Love speaks through these lips, and so these lips are holy. These are holy lips. We're giving holy lips. Love speaks through these lips, and so these lips are holy. This is holy time. We're giving holy time. For love is here, and so this time is holy. This is holy time. We're giving holy time. For love is here, and so this time is holy.
This time is holy. This time we spend together in community, in a caring, loving community, sharing our spiritual path. This time that we spend in meditation, yearning and satisfying that yearning in the same moment with the One, discovering the truth about ourselves as we go within in the silence. Come with me now into that sacred place and envision yourself walking with me into the woods. Not a deep, dark, scary woods, but an inviting, lighted woods with plenty of sunshine shining through the trees, lighting our path and leading us together to a clearing in the middle of this woods. A beautiful hardwood forest filled with innumerable kinds of trees. And in the middle of these trees is a clearing, beautiful green, soft grass, around which are many trees, and we pick one that looks very beautiful to us. We look at this tree, and we sit on the ground, on the soft, comfortable ground, leaning against this tree. This is our tree. And we begin to feel supported comfortably by the trunk of this tree. We lay our back against it and our head against it. And we just feel ourselves fully supported, completely safe. We listen to the breeze through the leaves of the tree and the grass. We look up for a moment and we see woods creatures, coming to this clearing and arranging themselves around in a circle. We are in the circle with them. Rabbits, squirrel, fox, wolf, all kinds of creatures, turtle, lizard, deer, each with their own special medicine, their own special powers, reminding us that we too have powers because we are all one with that one Spirit, the great Spirit who flows through everything, every person, every creature, every rock, tree, and leaf, every plant and flower. It's all spirit alive with the energy, the loving, healing, guiding, supportive energy that is life itself. We sit here in the silence for just a few moments, leaning against this tree, being one with these creatures with us. And we feel that sacred, holy oneness. Do you feel this sacred place we're in? The world around us and the Spirit within us. The one power, the one presence that is all, everywhere, all the time. Thank you, Great Spirit. Aho. We prepare now to leave this silence and come back to the room and speak more of this Great Spirit, the one power, the one presence.
One power, one power, one power. There's one power invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious, I'm telling all the truth. Simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. Whatever name you give it, it's just one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love, love in you and me. One power, one power, one power, yeah. You speak so many languages, different clothing, different colors, different names. Different is only dangerous when we forget that in our hearts we're all the same. Remember once we close our eyes to sing. Such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem or heaven's door. But it's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul and it's your sign. It's the universe It's music, Mother Earth or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, someone power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. It's one power of the Lord, yeah. Loving you and me. It's the moment of creation to everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby. Serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon. For it's love that's almost deep. It's what power. Oh, oh, oh. It's the power of the Lord. It's forever in It's the power of the love that lives forever. Forever in you and me. One power. One power. One power.
Thank you all very much.
Awesome, Will. That's one of my favorite songs. Fits right into today's message. One power, one presence. When I first got the call to ministry, it was important for me to honor all paths. One power, one God, one Spirit, many paths. And I promised myself that that was part of my ministry. To honor all the paths to God, because all paths lead us. All paths are sacred, all paths get us there. And part of our ministerial training, like Donna's, was to become aware of the world religions, not just ours, not just train ourselves in New Thought, unity. And one of the religions that we covered in my training was the tribal religion. And I thought, since Donna had started this series of talks, workshops, and Sunday messages about the other paths, that I would kind of follow up on that and talk to you a little bit, share with you about tribal spirituality. It's not really a religion per se, but it is a spirituality, a culture, a tradition, a history, and a spirituality. One that I kind of grew up with an intense interest in as a kid, as a little child. It started, I remember. Do you remember the cereal boxes we used to have when we were kids, and they'd have little prizes in them, little things in the box with the cereal, like the Cracker Jack boxes? And I went from cereal to cereal, collecting plastic cars or people or animals, or one of my favorites, a cereal I didn't particularly like, what I remember was Nabisco shredded wheat, the big biscuits. They were good if you put enough sugar on them. It was before sugar cereals, if you can remember. But they had little cardboard dividers between the biscuits, and on them would be printed things from Straight Arrow, one of my favorite Native American figures. Little things to make or to do. Straight Arrow had his own television program well before The Lone Ranger and Tonto, which I also watched, and reminded me of a story about Lone Ranger and Tonto. They were out in the world doing their good, packing away their backpacks and their bedrolls and their tents, and they'd spend a night in the woods together. One night, Tonto was awakened by Lone Ranger, who was stirring next to him, and Tonto says, "Kimosabe, what's wrong?" And Lone Ranger says, "It's a mystery. It's a big mystery. Look at the sky. Look at all the stars, the millions and billions of stars. I can't figure it out. It's a mystery." And Tonto says, "No mystery, Kimosabe." "Well, what's it mean?" "It means someone stole our tent." I continued through my young growing up years to, some kids played cops and robbers, some played doctors and nurses. I played cowboys and Indians, and I had a little toy bow and arrow set with the suction cups on the end so you didn't hurt anything, and it did anyway. We played with some pretty crazy toys back then. And later on in shop, I had the opportunity to make my own bow. A nice big, stood about this tall, as tall as I did. And I carved it out of a special kind of wood and put the notches in for the string, and I went out in the woods and shot some arrows. And it's a good thing I wasn't a very good shot, because I'd have probably carried a big guilt trip if I'd ever hit one of those bunnies I was shooting at. As I continued on trying to learn as much as I could about Indians, which is one of the tribal peoples that we talk about. We talked in our course about the Aboriginals from Australia. We talked about the Incas and the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Toltecs from the South American countries. And we talked about the North American Indian. And many of us grew up calling it Native American, but the truth is their ancestry was not native to North America. They all got here. They immigrated here from other places, much as we did, only much earlier. This was kind of conveyed to me by Carlos Nakai, a very famous, we call him a North American Indian. He's actually a member of both the Navajo and the Hopi Nation. He's got dual citizenship, if you will. And he had sat down and had this discussion with us, and he said, many of the North American Indians would prefer to be called that, or even First Nations people, because they were the people who came here first and created nations well before ours. There aren't just 3 nations in North America: Canada, the United States, and Mexico. There's over 1,000 First People nations here that we've kind of scooted around and made room for, and they have their own nations. I grew up amongst a whole series of nations that were different from the ones we experience out here. They're different all over, but they have many of the same rituals and beliefs and practices. I was myself adopted as an honorary Lenni Lenape of the Delaware Nation. And I spent, in accordance with their traditions, I spent an ordeal which involved a night alone in the woods. I was about 14 or 15 at that time, and fasting, and days of service to their community. And it was called, I was indoctrinated then into what was called Wamaktan Windalausik Witomehemewe, WWW in their language, which stood for the Brotherhood of Cheerful Service. I think it had something to do with my ministerial service and my call to the ministry later on. I continued to learn about their practices. One of my favorite books that was given to me by an adult scout leader at one point was The Gospel of the Red Man, and it was written by a couple white people who spent time living with the North American Indians, and they documented in a book some of their practices. They got to be accepted by them as someone who was simply interested in their path and wanted to share it, as opposed to change it. One of the great sadnesses, I think, among the North American Indians is that their children were taken away from them and sent to Christian schools to be converted from the paganism that the whites back then felt the North American Indians were practicing, and they wanted to teach them the one true way. You know, a very narrow-minded approach as opposed to this one God, many paths approach. But I began to have an appreciation after reading this book of how the red man really lived every day. How he found it very unusually odd that the white people would go to church and seek a oneness with God one day a week on Sunday, when he was already in the practice of seeing Great Spirit everywhere, every day, and practiced that belief in sacred circle with the community, which was everything to the tribal peoples. Almost every one of the tribes, the nations here in North America today, have a sacred circle as a very sacred emblem of the way they saw life. Some call it the wheel of life or the circle of life, the medicine shield. They believed that all the directions and all the creatures had special medicine, which was anything that would help one on his spiritual journey. And that kind of sounded similar to me of Charles Fillmore's concept of the 12 powers in us. We can look at a creature and see its way of life, what it was good at, its medicine. And we could relate because Great Spirit is one in them, one in us. We are one together. We have that same medicine or power in us. You'll hear about that as we practice, as we experience the sacred circle together in a few minutes. I'd like to do that with you. Would you like to not just talk about and learn about what they did, but experience some of what they did?
Yeah.
We've done that before here, and people have asked me if I could come back and repeat it, and I thought this might be an excellent opportunity. There was another book written by Black Elk that talks about his vision quest and the vision he had as a young boy, about the age I was when I joined the Lenape. And he had this vision of a white buffalo calf woman came to him and presented him with a sacred pipe. The title of the book was Sacred Pipe. And she also explained to him different sacred rituals that his people might follow and practice, which they still do. Black Elk was a Lakota Sioux, and the Sioux Nation and many others practice very similar practices. They're all done in sacred circle. The welcoming of a new child, the coming together of a new relationship, a marriage, the memorializing of someone who has passed on and has moved to the great stars, purification ceremonies in the sweat lodge. Everything is done in circle, sacred circle. No one is higher than another. No one is further along the path than another. Everyone is equal. I had an opportunity later in life to participate in a grandfather's weekend, which was done in the North American Indian tradition, and we did things in sacred circle, like honoring the eldest and honoring the youngest, and passing the pipe and smoking for peace, honoring all the directions as we did it, thanking Great Spirit for all of the ways he comes to us from each of the directions. Would you like to do something like that with me right now?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to begin facing the east. I'm not going to turn around and face the east. That would be turning my back on you. So envision me and yourselves standing and facing the east. And just searching for all the ways, acknowledging all the ways Great Spirit comes to us from the east. We're going to be talking about the 4 elements of life: earth, sun, sky, and sea. We're going to be talking about the 4 directions, the 4 colors, the 4 seasons, the 4 times of day, and creatures that greet us from the directions. So we face the east, and we see the yellow, the color yellow, representing the yellow sun just rising above the earth. That element, earth, which gives us so much. East represents the morning, the beginning of the day, the season of spring, the beginning of the year, It's the beginning of all things. It reminds us of our thoughts. We are endowed by Great Spirit with innovation, with ideas, with all those beautiful I words: inventiveness, inspiration, imagination. The ideas that come to us are the seeds that we plant in the beginning of our life. And like spring, our seeds are planted in mind and grow and develop and are reaped later as we walk the great black road. Some nations call it the great blue road. And some of us in our experience here on earth experience it as a black and blue road, don't we? But it's our road. It's a sacred road. And it begins in the east. We see the creatures of the east, like deer, the gentlest of animals, springs forth quickly from the beginnings it makes and springs into life. And it reminds us that we too, like deer, can be gentle with others and with ourselves. And so we thank Great Spirit now for all the ways you come to us from the east. Aho. Aho means amen, and you can join me in that if you wish as we face the remaining directions. We turn and face the south. In the south we see that great ball of fire, the element fire, the red sun that rises at midday. The south represents the middle part of day, when growth happens. The red reminds us of the love we have, the passion we have for this life and for our ideas that we put into action. The thing that drives us forward, the summer of our lives, the middle part of our day. The red road starts in the south and it goes to the north. The great red road is the journey our soul takes on this life experience on this earth. And we want it to be a good experience. We come to you, Great Spirit, in a good way. We need to honor you and all the ways you come to us from the south. From the creatures of the south, like lizard, who sits on a warm rock, warms himself in the sun with his eyes closed, and we think lizard is asleep. But lizard is not asleep. Lizard is the dreamer. And he knows where his dreams come from and that they can come true for him. He reminds us where our dreams come from. The dreamer is in us as well. And we are instilled by dreams, goals, visions. And we know that they can come true for us if we come true to them. If we put everything unlike our dream aside and we follow our dream. We don't wait for our dreams to come true. Our dreams are waiting for us to come true. And we thank Great Spirit for these dreams and for everything that comes to us from the south. Aho. We turn to the west. We see water, the third element of life. Water rolling down the great mountains, the black mountains. The color black reminds us of those great obstacles they can be. Lying to our west represents the autumn of the year, the evening of the day. That time of the year when the seeds we have sown in the east in the spring have ripened and given harvest to us. And we thank Great Spirit for that harvest. We think of the creatures that come to us from the west. We envision eagle, the most powerful of birds, who makes its nest higher than any other bird. It soars higher than any other bird. It soars over those mountains easily. And it reminds us that we too can overcome any challenges in our life as we walk the black road on this earth. Thank you, Spirit, for all the ways you come to us from the west. Aho.
Aho.
And we face the north, representing the season of winter. The color white that reminds us of our true values, the truth of us, the truth about us, tells us who we are and what we hope to achieve. It reminds us that we need a time of rest, to renew ourselves, to go into that silence and rediscover who we are. We think of the creatures that come from the west, the great white bear, the great buffalo. Buffalo happens to be my totem animal. The great medicine carried by buffalo, or the North American bison, is abundance and prayer. It reminds me what I am obligated to do. My native name is Gray Wolf, friend of buffalo. And the older I get, the more that name seems proper, Gray Wolf. Gray Wolf is the teacher. I'm much better at being a teacher than a preacher. Sharing with people what the truth is than telling them what to do. And the message I have to teach them is the message of prayer, affirming what is true. The message of an abundant life that is available to each of us, prospering us in every way as Great Spirit prospers us. It's all inside. It's all there to be found. The color white and the breath, the air. So we've covered the earth, the fire, the water, and the air. The air is a breath of spirit. One of my favorite, one of my favorite Native American prayers was attributed to Yellow Lark, Holy Man and Chief of the Blackfoot. Yellow Lark gave us the Great Spirit prayer. I'll share it with you now. O Great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the winds, whose breath gives life to all things. Hear me. I come before you, one of your many children. I am weak and small. I need your wisdom and strength. Let me walk in beauty. My eyes ever behold your red and purple sunset. Make my ears sharp that I may hear your voice. Make me wise that I may learn the things you have taught my people, the lessons you have hidden under every rock and leaf. Make me strong, not to be superior to my brothers and sisters, but that I may overcome my greatest enemy, myself. Make me ever ready to stand before you with clean hands and straight eyes, so that whenever this life fades like the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. Aho. Aho. Great Spirit, Wakatonka. One of the things that's a little bit different between our method of praying and the Native Americans, the North American Indians' way of praying, their prayers somehow are a little bit of asking, a little bit of asking for things used to be my way of prayer. But what we're taught to share with one another here is more of an affirmative prayer, more of an acknowledgement that it is already done. That the Great Spirit that comes from within me has already prospered me and made me wise and made me strong. There is wisdom there. There is empowerment there. It's all mine. And I affirm that. You know, we talked about the 4 directions of the sacred wheel, but there are more, because that's a 2-dimensional earth, isn't it? And there's a 3-dimensional world we live in. There's the above and the below. So join me now in looking above and seeing the great blue of Father Sky. Great Spirit comes to us from Father Sky as well, from Grandfather Sun, who guides us by day, from Grandmother Moon, who guides us by night, and the spirits, the stars, the spirits of our ancestors who have gone before us, who continue to guide us by what they have taught us and remind us and have blessed us with. Thank you, Great Spirit, for the ways you come to us from above. And as we look down, we see that great, beautiful, green Mother Earth. Mother Earth, you give us everything. You give us our food, our clothing, our shelter, our very lives. Our creation stories are much like those in the Bible. created from Mother Earth, created from a pile of mud, revitalized and healed by the mud placed on our eyes as we look for Spirit. Thank you, Great Spirit, for all the ways you come to us from below. Aho. But there's more. There's more than the three dimensions. There's another dimension, isn't there? Great Spirit comes from all around us, but also from deep within us. Deep within us, there is that color purple. The joy of that oneness, experiencing that oneness with Spirit. When we go to the silence, when we meditate, and we affirm what we find there, that oneness with all, with every creature, with every plant, with every other person, and with Spirit, with Great Spirit, Wakantanka. That joy bubbles up within us. And we thank Great Spirit for coming to us from within ourselves where it lies. Aho.
Aho.
There's another ritual that is practiced in a lot of the North American Indian communities, tribes, nations, and I'd like to invite Reverend Donna to come up here for just a second. Because one of those rituals that's held sacred is what's called the giveaway. Periodically, the community comes together and gives something of value to another. You see this portrayed sometimes in the movies. If you remember it in Dances with Wolves, there's a point where two people come together and they give each other a going away present that's very special to each of them. A most beautifully carved knife or moccasin. It's not like when the two squaws get together and one squaw is telling another squaw, I have these beautiful moccasins. I got these beautiful moccasins that have this beautiful beading for my husband. And the other squaw says, good trade. In these giveaways, you actually give something away that's very special to you, that's of your best. And it reminds us who do that it's important for us to always give of our best to one another. Not just out of obligation, out of duty, out of he gave me something, I'll give him something, but something that you treasure. I treasure something, but I'm going to give it away because that's special.
I'm going to cry.
Oh.
I'm going to ask you to put your right hand over my heart as I put my right hand over your heart. It's a traditional Native American blessing. I honor you.
I honor you.
I honor your sacred path.
I honor your sacred path.
All is sacred.
All is sacred.
All is Wakan.
All is what kind?
All is holy.
All is holy.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Would you all please stand, if you are able? I'd like you to hold your right hand over your heart. I honor myself.
I honor myself.
I honor my sacred path.
I honor my sacred path.
All is sacred.
All is sacred.
All is Wakan.
All is Wakan.
All is holy.
All is holy.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Amber, I think you can add to that.
When I was a girl each week, go to church, pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time when Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still, and now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine and water is not so small, and even better magic trick is that anything's here at all. And so the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely met my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath. I'm swimming in a sea of it. There used to be a wood out there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. I walk it with the reverend there, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Questioning child's face and say it's not a testament, that it'd be hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. Remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, and second-rate hand-me-down. I walk it with a reverend there, 'cause everything is holy now.
Thank you, Will. Beautiful music. Beautiful music. There's another gift for all of you that I had the opportunity to leave after permission from previous pastors here. How many of you have ever walked our labyrinth? If you choose to walk a labyrinth and take that journey, you have an opportunity to meditate on your Good Red Road. And you also here at this labyrinth, one of only 2 labyrinths that I know of, have an opportunity to also pause in the outer loop of each of the 4 directions and remind yourself of the 4 directions. The colors out there are marked with yellow, red, black, and white stones. So it's kind of a combination between a sacred circle, reminding you that this life is sacred, this place is sacred. We're always on holy ground. Wherever we are, God is. You know, and it's kind of a combination of that oneness that unity believes, and that oneness that the North American Indian believes, the tribal peoples believe, that creation is one. We are one with it all. And all the ways Great Spirit comes to you, from all around you and deep within you. It's kind of an interesting combination of the labyrinth walk and the sacred circle walk. It's only found here and in one other labyrinth I know of. So I appreciate being able to share that with you and to share giving of our best.
Thank you. Wow, what a morning, huh? Some of you know, most of you know that Jerry and Donna are moving to Show Low, Arizona. Will you be with us next week?
Next week, last week.
So we'll have an opportunity to give back, right? We will. So thank you. I didn't know that about the labyrinth. And I certainly didn't know that I'd walk away with some new threads. Okay, we come to the time now where we bless our offering. You can put it in the baskets on your way out the door. Or if you give electronically or you send a check in through the mail, visualize that. Because as I say, the energy with which we give is the true gift. So let's stand and affirm our blessing for our tithes and offerings. Divine love,
through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful.
And Jerry and Donna, come here. We have a unity blessing that a lot of people know. Jerry and Donna, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Okay, let there be peace on earth, and then we will close with our prayer for protection. Surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us,
the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. For wherever we are, God is. And all